How to frontside big spin. First, you want to place your index finger in the middle of the board and your middle finger on the tail of the board. Some people find it easier to have their middle finger on the middle of the tail, but for me personally, I find it's easier to have your middle finger on the edge of the tail that's closest to you. A front shove revert is a frontside big spin that doesn't pop in the air. Getting used to doing these is key to learning how to do a proper frontside big spin. To do this trick, you want to use your middle finger to push the tail of the board away from you, which will cause the board to rotate towards you. Make sure to push down on the tail when you do this so that your front wheels come up, because this will make it much easier to spin the board. Then you want to turn your hand in the same direction that the board is spinning and land on the board riding backwards. Think of it like you're crossing your fingers and pushing your middle finger in front of your index finger. The key to this trick is to not think so much about scooping the tail against the ground to get it to spin, and to instead focus on popping the tail against the ground to get it into the air. I like to think of it as if I'm doing a simple front 180 but pushing my middle finger away from me as I pop, rather than scraping the tail against the ground to get it to start spinning. The finger positioning is super important for this trick because having our middle finger on the edge of the board that's closest to us is going to make the board want to flip like a kick flip when we pop, and having our index finger in the middle of the board is going to make the board want to flip like a heel flip, so the two cancel each other out and keep the board flat in the air. A good way to ease your way into doing a proper frontside big spin is putting your board out in front of you so that your tail is pointing towards you and you're riding away from your body. That way you don't have to turn your wrist as much. Once you get more comfortable doing frontside big spins from this position, you can gradually start to turn your wrist more and more back to your regular ollie position. For some people, it can help to look at this trick from a different perspective. For me personally, it really helped to think of this trick as a 360 frontside pop shove with a body varial, because I'm a lot better at 360 frontside pop shoves than I am at frontside pop shoves. But if you're still struggling with getting the rotation, try doing a frontside big spin by breaking down the individual parts of the trick in different ways. Another example of this would be to do a frontside pop shove and then land on the nose so you can pivot the rest of the 180. Or you could do a frontside pop shove and land at a 90-degree angle so that you can power slide the rest of the 180. This will help you get used to the rotation, and you can eventually work your way up to rotating your board and hand in the air without having to slide your wheels on the ground. I've seen some tutorials say that you want to apply pressure onto your index finger, but whenever I try to do that, I always end up doing a big spin heel. I like to think of it as if you're popping the board into your index finger and then using your hand to follow the board in the air so that your index finger never leaves the grip tape. One trick that helped me a lot with keeping my index finger on the board the entire time was to point down as the board starts to rotate. This will help prevent the board from flipping like a big spin heel, because we were doing the opposite motion and flicking our index finger more like a kick flip. If you're having trouble getting the board to do the full 360 frontside shove, you can use your index finger to get the board to spin faster. By hooking your index finger on the nose of the board, you can pull your index finger towards you, getting the board to wrap around your finger and complete the 360 rotation. But 60 seconds isn't long enough for me to explain everything, so check out the full tutorial on my YouTube, link in bio.